When the world is just too much, turn it off and turn on positive, encouraging K-Love.
I'm gonna praise.
World off. K-Love on.
K-Love is sunshine for my soul.
I love K-Love.
Listen now on your radio, online, or on the free K-Love app.
K-Love makes me feel so good.
Positive, encouraging K-Love.
This is Medicare Moments with your host, Toni King. My name is Jim Glogowski. Thanks for joining us for this very important edition of Medicare Moments. Hi, Toni King.
How are you doing, Jim? And this is important, knowing what to do for an evacuation because hurricane season's coming.
It is. And June 1 is when hurricane season starts, and it affects, us, of course, here in the Texas area, but it also can affect the Pacific area, and it can affect the Atlantic area over up and down the East Coast from New York City all the way down to Miami. And then, of course, the other side of Florida, the Keys, the whole thing. And we have a lot of people that listen to us in Florida and in Texas and in New York, Toni. So, and up and down South Carolina and North, that whole area. So I'm glad that you put this in as a topic that we need to address. It goes like this. Dear Toni, my parents went into a local independent living facility. I've received an email from the facility's executive director with information detailing how to draw up an emergency evacuation plan. The executive director asked that those living in the facility submit a personal emergency evacuation plan by June 1, because that is when hurricane season begins for America. We need your guidance to prepare an emergency evacuation plan to submit to the executive director, Toni. And Andy writes to you like that. So, Toni, what can Andy do? This is really great forward thinking on behalf of that facility. So how can you help Andy?
What needs to happen is that he needs to sit down with his family and decide what's going to be their emergency evacuation plan, because right now he's living 15, 20 minutes away from where the assisted living center is that his parents are at. But what happens if the roads flood, tornadoes? Texas has their issues. Look at what happened by San Antonio, Austin, when the river flooded. Nobody was expecting that. And people were missing for days when that river flooded last summer. Remember when that river flooded? That was not good.
I do. And no one expected it, and it hit really fast. As Toni's saying, emergencies can happen. It's best if you're prepared in advance. We'll be back and talk a whole lot more about this right after this break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Caring for someone with dementia is one of the toughest journeys, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm Allison Schreier, and my experience caring for my husband inspired me to create Zinnia, a therapeutic streaming service designed to support people living with dementia and reduce caregiver stress. Zinnia offers research-backed videos intentionally created for people with dementia, engaging, calming, and easy to follow. Whether you need to ease agitation, create moments of joy, or make daily routines smoother, Zinnia is here to help. Family and professional caregivers use our content to turn challenges into opportunities for connection. Accessible by subscription on mobile devices and connected TVs, Zinnia is simple to use whenever you need it. Because when caregiving feels easier, life feels better. Go to zinniatv.com and sign up for a free trial today. Use the code RESOURCE for 15% off an annual Zinnia subscription.
Medicare Moments is the podcast that you're listening to. Reach out with any questions you may have for Toni King. Call her 832-519-8664, 832-519-8664. Today, Toni is talking about an emergency plan for someone whose parent is living in a senior facility. But this is good for anyone listening to listen to these points that Toni has, the decisions you have to make, and the best way to handle it in an emergency, in a crisis. And the best way is to start planning before anything happens. Right, Toni?
Right, because you need to make sure that you've got all your medical needs taken care of. What happens if you're on a wheelchair or a walker, or, you've got to do life support, you're on oxygen? There's different things, and you can't get to your parents. They need to have a way, something to do. So You've got to decide what are you going to do in case there's an emergency disaster or the hurricane or a tornado, or what happens if you're in California and you've got fire? I mean, they had wildfires. That just literally took over. People lost their house. They lost everything. We don't have any guarantees. So we just have to make sure that we've got a plan together. The first thing is you got to decide, do I stay or do I go? What happens? Assisted living centers, you can't get to them. They're flooding and everything. And they have to put everybody on a bus and move them because the assisted living center has been damaged. They can't wait for you to come.
And I do want to jump in and say one thing. A lot of people like to make lists, which is good. Today, we tend to digitize them. But in this case, because electric may be out, printers may not work, it's best to print this stuff up ahead of time and have a hard copy somewhere where people can say, oh, you're on this medication, you need oxygen, you need this kind of testing, you need stuff that you do on a regular weekly and monthly basis, right, Toni?
That's true. And they're always asking you to have something special in your freezer, on your refrigerator. You can have like a little red dot. And the emergency company, if an emergency or an ambulance or whatever comes, they know that those documents, the power of attorney, the living will, the durable medical power of attorney, what prescriptions they take are in that freezer up on your refrigerator, and they can open it up and they're prepared. They've got it. I've seen how important it is where you have a do not resuscitate or a DNR, because when my ex-husband's dad was in the emergency room, they couldn't stop pounding on his chest. The second his brother walked in with the DNR, they stopped immediately. And things, it didn't go good, but they didn't have to sit there and put him on life support or whatever. So you got to have a plan in place. So you got to know, do I stay or do I go? What are you going to do?
Well, Toni, also, I want to mention, we're going to talk about clean water next. And I think you might know this, but I had an apartment in the Lower West Side of Manhattan, right by the World Trade Center, for several years when I was traveling across the country. And we would get postcards from Homeland Security once a year saying, make sure you have at least 120 bottles of water in your apartment to have clean water.
Well, I would be in big trouble. What? But if you go at the last minute to go buy water, there's nothing left.
Correct.
So you need to make sure you've got enough. Right now is June. Get ready, because we don't know what's going to happen next week. They hit very fast. Yeah.
What about food, Toni? That's a little more difficult when you think about it, right? Because we don't know how much food we're going to need. We don't know how long things will be interrupted.
You've got enough that whatever is in your freezer, you can cook that. We've had to have it to where we had no lights, we had no electricity, but we had a gas grill, and we cooked all the food that was in the freezer. You got to get prepared. You want to have extra propane during the summertime, because we don't know what did it take us. Some areas took a month before they ever got lights last summer. Here, when Beryl came through, I had to sleep on my son Michael. I had to sleep on his couch for a week. We had no lights or anything.
What about cash on hand?
Make sure you have cash, because a lot of times ATMs, you can't go write a check, can't get to the bank. You make sure that you've got cash on hand, or take your check with you when you go somewhere. A lot of times they won't use that, what your debit card is. They feel like there's so many scams, you got to watch out. So put a couple $100 in your pocket.
And then finally, something really important about, where does the family meet? Do you know, in an emergency situation, if you have to evacuate your home, where do you need to meet? Correct, Toni? What do you recommend? What kind of places do you recommend?
If I have an emergency, we know that we're going to go to the Whataburger outside of Houston, down off of I-10 and Highway 6, down in Sealy. That is but what happens if I can't get there? That's generally where I meet somebody, is at that Whataburger in Sealy.
The good part is, if you can't get there, not that it's good you can't get there, but everybody knows that's where you're heading, so they can start working back the other way to see where you are.
And we have seen some bad things happen. When we had a hurricane that hit through here, there were people that were leaving town, and their area, where they were in line in the car, that they were devastated. Remember when the cars were on the side of the road, they couldn't get out of town?
I do.
I mean, they ran out of gas. So you just need to get prepared. That's what you need to learn how to do. And if anybody has any questions, they can contact us. Our direct number is 832-519-8664. They can email info at Toni Says, ToniSays.com. And we've got the Medicare First Steps. It's got a lot of that information in there. So you can download that or you can sign up for my newsletter. Yeah, that'll work. You just got to get prepared. It's really important that you have the legal documents, the medical power of attorney, living will, durable medical power of attorney. You want to have copies of that going with you.
Thank you, Toni King.
Caring for someone with dementia is one of the toughest journeys, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm Allison Schreier, and my experience caring for my husband inspired me to create Zinnia, a therapeutic streaming service designed to support people living with dementia and reduce caregiver stress. Zinnia offers research-backed videos intentionally created for people with dementia, engaging, calming, and easy to follow. Whether you need to ease agitation, create moments of joy, or make daily routines smoother, Zinnia is here to help. Family and professional caregivers use our content to turn challenges into opportunities for connection. Accessible by subscription on mobile devices and connected TVs, Zinnia is simple to use whenever you need it. Because when caregiving feels easier, life feels better. Go to zinniatv.com and sign up for a free trial today. Use the code RESOURCE for 15% off an annual Zinnia subscription.